Welcome aboard, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We're talking New York Jets. 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 Closing in on the draft. 15 days to the draft as we record today's interview. The Manchild, along with Boy Green, Paul Esden Jr., talking sports with you. We are presented by Northeast Roofing Professionals. Today's video brought to you by our friends at the Allen Floral Group. Specifically creative florists. So if you want to get some flowers, Mother's Day is not too far away. Start thinking about the flowers. Go to our friends at the Allen Floral Group right here in Central New York. 6 locations. They're all over Central New York. You can't miss them. Why go anywhere else? Just pick one. Right? Pick one. Today it's creative florists. Go pick them. All right, without further ado, we bring our Jets insider to talk all things Jets from the Jake Asman Show and ESPN New York, and now doing the Jets Collective podcast. Ooh, he's got a whole bunch of titles now. The one, the only Jake Asman. What's up, Jake?
Missed you last week, Jim. Hope you're doing well.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. I missed you too. I said that to Boy Green after the interview, and then he said, yeah, Jake said something. I was like, yeah, when I miss our regulars, there is like this void, so just couldn't work out the timing last week. But, summertime's around the corner. Then I'm going to be available like there's no tomorrow. So anytime, anyway, anything you want to do. All right, let's talk some Jets football. We are getting closer and closer, 15 days away from the NFL draft, and rumors everywhere, so to speak. But before we get into the rumors and the trade things, and I even want to talk to you about Dexter Lawrence. Would he make any sense for the Jets? Let me ask you about one of the players on the Jets roster right now that really does matter to the Jets in terms of what picks they might make in the draft, and that's Breece Hall. Let's talk about Breece Hall's relationship right now with the Jets, and is it a relationship that is on firm footing, on firm foundation, and what do you think his future is with the team?
Well, if you go by what they said when they were asked about Breece publicly at the league meetings, that'd be Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn, that they think that they could get a deal done with Breece after the draft. Both of them said they feel like they're in a good place. Glenn referenced the fact he's like, Breece knows how I feel about him. I think it'll be interesting to see if they don't get a deal done. Does Breece show up to any of the voluntary workouts? If he shows up, I think that then that's probably a good sign that they're trending towards getting a deal done. There's good faith negotiation, they feel like, on both sides. If he doesn't show up, then there'll be questions. It creates headlines. I don't know if he's going to request a trade like what Dexter Lawrence did with the other team in town with your Giants, but it does sound like, at least just based on what Darren Muji and Glenn said last week, that they're in a pretty good spot with Breece and they expect to get something done.
So quick follow-up on that, Jake. This was a hot topic on the Jake Asman Show about Jeremiah Love's secret breakfast meeting with the New York Jets. And that, there's some Jet fans in our audience. Shout out to Lou B, super Jets fan among them. I'm a Notre Dame Golden Domer. I wouldn't hate it. I love me some love. But, Jake, what are the chances, if you had to put like some percentage on it, that the Jets go crazy and they take Jeremiah Love, and whether that means he and Breece are paired up or that they split him up and Breece ends up getting traded or some kind of craziness? Long story short, that the chances that Jeremiah Love somehow is a New York Jet, what percentage chance would you put on that?
Man, that's a great question. I'd be very surprised. 10% maybe. That might even be too strong.
All right.
I think they like Breece. I take them at face value when they say that. I think if they took Love, you're definitely trading Breece. I don't see the scenario where you'd pair both of them up this upcoming year. And as great of a player as Love is, I don't think it makes sense for the Jets at 2. I think the Jets saw this firsthand with the Saquon pick of the Giants. Last year, Genti goes in the top 7, or was he 6, wherever he was picked. That didn't work out. While the Jets have a good offensive line, to me, when you're picking this high, position value has to matter. And I just don't see them taking a running back as high as number 2 overall.
All right, let's talk about my Giants and a little problem that popped up, and does it in some way connect to the Jets? I don't think Dexter Lawrence is going anywhere. I think this is posturing, but we see this kind of stuff. And if his trade demand is real, does it make any sense for the Jets, dare I say, to put in a bid? They got all these picks. I mean, we could use some picks, Jake, so sure, I guess, but I don't want to open up Pandora's box here. Would you open up Pandora's box if you were the Jets?
I thought about, would the Giants take the Jets' 16th pick? And then I was like, I don't know if the Jets would want to offer that pick. Dexter Lawrence is a very good player, but what version of Dexter Lawrence are you getting? The guy who was basically checked out, it felt like, last year? Or are you getting the guy from 2 years ago before his injury, who, had 9.5 sacks and was phenomenal? I think there's too big of a risk for the Jets to make that type of move when they're not a Dexter Lawrence away from being a true contender. I think the Jets would want the cost certainty of a player on a rookie deal, whereas the team that acquires Dexter Lawrence, I think that's more of a, hey, we're all in to try and win type of move. Plus, if Quinnen Williams went for a 2nd and a 1, you would think Dexter Lawrence is going to fetch at least a 2nd, if not a late first round pick, I'd imagine. So I just think it might be a little too steep for a team like the Jets to entertain that conversation.
I agree, Jake. He's 28. He turns 29. He's a good player. I'm not going to deny that. But who's the real Dexter Lawrence? Last year was called fat, and he had half a sack. Why the hell am I rushing to go add that in? And by the way, if the Jets wanted this really talented defensive tackle, they just had one, Quinnen Williams. Why would we send him out the door for a bunch of picks and say, you know what we can do? Let's get somebody back and save on moving costs. Dexter Lawrence come across town. Yeah, that one, I just don't think that hits. NFL insider Matt Lombardo joined us on our live show here earlier today on Wednesday and mentioned the Jets as a fit. And I get the reasons of what he said, money, cap space, Aaron Glenn calling defense, he wants really good players. All that makes sense. But despite all that making sense, I don't think it makes any sense, Jake.
Yeah, look, if you told me it was just like one of the Jets' 2 second-round picks, like let's say it's 44, all right, like I'll have the conversation. But then he wants a new deal. He just got paid a couple of years ago. He's not coming off a great year. What type of contract does that look like? Does that make sense for the Jets who, again, I think they wanted to get younger and turn these picks into controllable assets so they could build out their team. Now, they have plenty of cap space, so I don't think money is like a problem. Like, oh, they couldn't fit him under the cap. I just don't know if he is the type of player the Jets want to bring in at this stage of what their season is supposed to be. If they got him, would I be, how could they? No, he's a really good player. I just don't think the Jets are going to be the team that trades for him.
All right, let's get into some salacious rumors, Jake. And Peter Schrager put out a mock draft where he has the Jets selecting David Bailey at number 2. And there was some other instances. Was it Daniel Jeremiah, Boy Green, right? Was that,
yes. So, yeah, they did.
Had put out a thought that the Jets are sniffing around David Bailey. Now, recent talking heads, not a lot of chatter about him being that high in the draft. So give me your thoughts. Is David Bailey worthy of a pick like that? And what do you make of these rumors?
I would be a little surprised at this point if it's Bailey, just because there's been so much buzz about Arvell Reese. It almost feels like these insiders are like, a little bored. We know Mendoza's going 1. Like, let's switch it up. We still got 2 weeks to go. I do think it's going to end up being Reese. Bailey, I don't hate the player, though. I think there's been way too much like discourse. Oh, if you like Reese, you mean Bailey stinks and vice versa. David Bailey's really good. You know more of what he is than what you're projecting Reese to be. He's a little older. He's a pure, off the edge defensive player who probably could get you close to 8 to 10 sacks right away as a rookie. I know there's some concerns about, him against the run and all that, but he's really good. If he doesn't go at 2 to the Jets, he's probably still going in the top 5, right? So I don't think it's a crazy conversation to entertain David Bailey. I just thought it was fascinating that Schrager and Daniel Jeremiah on the same podcast said their Jet sources both told them that they've heard it's Bailey at this point, not Reese. We'll see. I don't think it'd be a bad pick. I still think they're going to take Arvell Reese when push comes to shove.
Well, my boy Green in our mock 2.0 went for Sonny Styles at number 2. Jake, reaction. Styles too? Make any sense?
Love the player. Again, position value. Are they going to take a linebacker that high? If you take him that high, is he Ray Lewis? If he is, I'm in. Like, is he, Patrick Willis? Is he Fred Warner? Like, right. Like I understand the appeal of Sonny Styles. He's awesome. You watch him, you listen to him speak. You just got all the intangibles. Like, you could see him being a team captain, like by his second year. He's that level of player. He'd be in a great spot learning from a Demario Davis in that linebacker room right away. I would love Styles if they could move Attitude and get an extra pick and then do it. I think they're going to end up taking Reese or Bailey. I don't think Styles is truly in that conversation. He could be. And you know what? Rich Cimini did say on our Jets Collective, hey, watch Styles, but that'd be a big surprise, I think, at this point.
And Jake, maybe you nailed it. That was just a funny way to put it. Because I was going to say, what do you make of these rumors? Like the David Bailey thing seemingly come out of nowhere. There's another rumor I want to get to you later that seemingly came out of nowhere. A surprising player that could be at in the conversation too. Like, what do you make of all this? Because Lurch, before he's this digital radio superstar, guy now, he used to be this journalist. He talked about this journalistic antenna going off when weird things are happening and trying to sift through sort of the BS. But is it just all the draft analysts sort of got together in the room and said, hey, boys, we got some content to fill the next 2 weeks here. We need to mix it up. Is it just that simple?
It could be, right? I mean, or maybe the Jets are putting out there like a little smoke screen. They want it out there that, hey, we're going to take Bailey, but then they actually really like Reese. And maybe that drives up some interest and then potentially getting some sort of deal set up. I mean, I think the best case scenario is they could move out of 2 get extra picks and still end up with one of these premium defensive players. So that's what, I hope is happening here. But I also just think maybe people are just bored. Like, honestly, we know who's going one. There's really not a whole lot of hype and buzz around this draft. Even like the Ty Simpson conversation feels like that kind of died down because I don't even know if he's going in the first round now. So there's just a lot of, build up to this draft. And I think draft season's too long, and it should really be this week. It should be tomorrow because I feel like we're just recycling now through the same storyline. So now it's, it could be Bailey. All right. I still think it's probably going to be Reese, but we'll see.
Let's go to the Jets Collective podcast. You mentioned it that yourself, Brandon Tierney, longtime radio personality, and ESPN's Rich Cimini, who's covered the New York Jets longer than anyone in the universe. You got you guys three together, and you guys are debating over things. And one of the things in a recent episode you guys are debating is the number 2 overall pick and your ideal plan that you want. Hey, let's trade back a little. We love 5 to 7 players. Who cares? One of them is going to be there if we trade within a certain range. How realistic is that? Because, maybe all these different smoke screens generate that kind of interest where someone gets a little nervous, wants to trade up with the Jets to ensure they get their guy. So how realistic do you think a trade down from 2 actually is?
Maybe that's why they had the breakfast with Jeremiah Love, right? Let people think he's in play. I would personally be very surprised if they could find a real trade partner. So I'll say 10%. I don't see anyone moving up the 2. Like, who's so desperate to get up the 2 for which player? It doesn't feel like that kind of draft. Again, if they could do it, I would love it. And I trust Darren Muji to make the right trade considering his success with trades since he's been the team's GM. But I'd be very surprised, Paul. I really would.
Talking with Jake Asman, the Jake Asman Show, ESPN New York, and the Jets Collective. Very, very cool. We are presented today by Northeast Roofing Professionals. Today's video brought to you by friends at the Allen Floral Group, specifically creative florists. Jake, what about activity for the Jets on draft night? I mean, they have all these picks. Picks do mean opportunity, flexibility, whether it's trade up, trade down, get some more, get a player we really want, and have a little bit less. Give me your thoughts about how active you think the Jets will be on draft night.
I do see the scenario where they can move up if they only love, let's say, 1 or 2 of these receivers, and they're like, look, can we package 16 of round 1, pick 44 of round 2, come up and get our guy? Let's say it's coming up all the way into 7 to 10 range, roughly, to get in front of Miami at 11, because I think Miami could be in play for a receiver. I think the Rams are a team that certainly could take a receiver pretty early in this draft at 13. So I think that could be part of the thought process from the Jets. If it's not, though, for a wide receiver, I think it's more likely they're trying to move out of 16. They're more likely to definitely consider moving out of 33, right? 33 is the most traded pick in the draft. It's been traded 3 of the last 4 years. You could get something pretty good for pick 33. You don't have a 3rd-round pick this year. The Jets have 2, 16, 33, and 44. Then there's a huge gap until pick 103 of the 4th round. If they could get a 3rd-round pick, I think that would be their move, and most likely they're moving back, not up. But I do see the scenario where they come up for one of 2 scenarios, receiver, or if they are a Ty Simpson fan team, maybe they don't like him at 16, or maybe they do what your Giants did last season, Jim, and they move back into the back end of round 1 to get the 5th-year option on the guy and to get in front of the Cardinals, who might be thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I actually thought that was a really good move by the Giants to do that last year. And obviously, at least so far, it looks like Jackson Dart could be the real deal. So that could turn out to be a brilliant move to get that extra control. Always really important. So worth it. If you're going to take the guy in the 2nd round, why not grab him when he's totally available and use that 1st round as leverage for the future? So very, very smart stuff. It's our Jets Insider, Jake Asman, the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. Don't forget to pop that like button and also hit the subscribe button. If you're not already a subscriber, you see our link right there. 30 seconds from our sponsors, then we'll right back with more. Stick around. right, we're back talking all things Jets. Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital, the pod here. Jake Asman joining us. And Jake, you are headed to the draft just like my colleague here, Boy Green. I was reading this morning, they're expecting somewhere in the neighborhood of 700,000 people to descend upon Pittsburgh for this.
All Jet fans making the trip for the two picks of night one.
Right.
So give people a little preview. I know you're doing a show there. Boy Green, I think, is even going to show up for part of that as well.
Yeah.
Tell us about what you expect from Pittsburgh. Have you ever been to Pittsburgh? I don't know if I've heard you answer that question or not.
I've been to Pittsburgh, but it's over 15 years ago the last time I was in Pittsburgh, and it was a quick stop in Pittsburgh on the way to a different city. So I don't really know the city that well. I'm excited to check it out. We'll be at McFadden's all day long. It's a great sports bar located right near where all the draft magic is going to be happening. It's a free event. Just show up in your Jets gear, your NFL gear. If you want to be entered in our raffles we're doing or get your name on a list, you could RSVP at the link. I've tweeted it out a bunch. It's a partnerful link. You just go on my YouTube channel. You can find it there as well. And look, we're going to be basically providing like a home base hub for all the Jet fans who are making the trip. And you can walk right over to the draft. The draft's free to attend if you get a ticket to the NFL. So just going to be one giant party. And I'll be doing a show during the day. I'll do a show right after the Jets make their picks. And Boy Green will join me at some point during the day as we talk about whatever crazy last second rumors coming out, with hours to go before these picks actually have to be made.
One of my most memorable drafts was that, the draft where everybody thought Sam Darnold was going to be the number 1 overall pick, and it ended up being Baker Mayfield. And those rumors kind of broke like day of the draft or the night before. I remember I'm like, wow, this is really going down. And then it did go down. I was like, wow, rare, high draft rumor out there. And then that actually went down. I remember Boy Green, he was so happy when they got Sam Darnold. Him and I actually sat in the same room to watch that draft. Yes. An experience for me. Crazy stuff can happen, dare I say, night before and day of. So
Lurch, are you saying that Fernando Mendoza is about to be the number 2 overall pick to the Jets?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
He needs to be arrested for that to happen. We need full Larry Tunsil gas mask situation on steroids.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You want to trade out of 2, BG. I think what Jake was saying earlier, I think it's a tough road to hoe because of what's left. If there was another quarterback up there, then I say definitively you could get out of 2 if you wanted.
But we would want that quarterback if we were there.
Exactly. And if that was the case, the Jets would want that quarterback anyway, right? So it's kind of like, I think the Jets are picking at 2. I mean, I don't know.
I do too.
I don't know what crazy guy, what crazy team wants to go up there to get Arvell or to get David Bailey, whoever it is. I just think there's enough of a group there that you can get a quality player one way or the other.
Yeah, and just Muji in general, I won't put anything past him. He's done some, again, getting anything for Justin Fields. Like, some people laugh at that, but like me and Jake are like, oh my God, the fact that he got anything for this guy that very clearly he was going to cut. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. Again, to your point, Lurch, if I had to do this pie thing I asked Jake earlier on the percentage, it's probably like 80% they make the pick at 2, but I have to leave some wiggle room that Muji makes something happen. It wouldn't surprise me based on everything he's been able to accomplish.
Yeah. Is there any doubt, Jake, who's in control or who's in charge of the Jets draft? You believe it's Muji? I know obviously Glenn's going to have some say, but is he the final word? We've been exploring this with the Giants for weeks and weeks because of the Harbaugh-Shane thing. But what about on the other side of the Hudson there with the Jets?
I personally, but depending on who you ask, people have different answers on this. I think Muji is way more involved than he was a year ago. And if they actually went to Woody and had a face-off on which player they should take, I think Muji would now potentially win that face-off based on how bad year 1 went for Glenn. But I do think they're still working it as a team. I think it's still collaborative. I don't think Muji would pick a player that Glenn isn't on board with and vice versa. I don't think we've reached the Game of Thrones scenario where everyone's trying to stick the knife in each other's back to try and rise up the ranks. I still think those guys are working together, but just from what I have heard, what we have seen publicly, reading body, just everything we do as Jet fans following this team, I think it is very clear that Darren Muji is way more involved than he was a year ago when it felt like it was all Aaron Glenn. Again, Muji is not Glenn's sidekick anymore. I think they're on way more of an even playing field than people want to admit.
So, Jake, are you saying that perhaps Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn are a collective of sorts?
I am saying that they are, in fact, A Jets collective, perhaps.
Well, speaking of a beautiful segue by forcing that in there, Jake Asman, the Jets Collective podcast, you guys have been taken off. You guys have a couple of episodes in the books. Again, it's ESPN's Rich Cimini, it's Brandon Tierney, BT Unleashed, a great, triplets, a great trio of guys that have been doing this podcast. It's sort of this, amorphous being. It continues to grow, change, and shift. Again, give another plug for it for Jet fans and sort of what the hell they're getting into if they tune into the Jets Collective on YouTube.
Passionate and informative Jets talk every week with Rich Cimini, longest tenured Jets reporter to ever do it for ESPN. Brandon Tierney, longtime radio voice in this town, diehard Jet fan. And then me, who loves the Jets and talks about them every single day on an All Jets YouTube channel. So the three of us every week hit on whatever the latest news is to break down. And Rich is so plugged into everything going on with the organization. Usually he could share what his sources have told him in regards to the Jets or different things happening around the league. And it's always nice to do that show, because then the next day on my personal channel, I could probably react to something that Rich or Brandon said, and it gives me content on my show. So we kind of just feed the content ecosystem every week. And it's a lot of fun. I love working with Rich and Brandon. I'm glad. I don't know if you shared this yet publicly.
I'm not, so feel free.
Boy Green's going to be coming on board to help us with some behind-the-scenes social media work to help really increase the footprint of the show. So I'm excited about what we're building.
Which, speaking of that, there is a brand new official Twitter account for the Jets Collective. It is at NYJetsHMA. Again, at NYJetsHMA. That's the official Twitter handle of the show. So you guys will find all kinds of clips from there, some exclusive behind-the-scenes stuff that I'll be working on with Jake, Rich, and Brandon behind the scenes of getting some of their, the preparation maybe and other things that they do behind the scenes. Certainly at the draft, me and Jake will be together, so we'll record some stuff for the socials, I'm sure, of putting it out there. So you guys can follow that official Twitter account right now for all the clips from the show, and there's going to be more social medias to come. This show has lighter fluid all over it. It's just going to ignite and continue its rocket ship forward. Go ahead, Lurch.
No, I'm not.
I thought you had something to jump in on there. No, so I guess throwing it back to that, Jake, for the draft coming in here, where are we at now? Is this sort of the eye of the storm, and now we're just sort of waiting, to your point, that the draft could really be tomorrow? Or is there some of these things that can happen? Because one of these other people that you've worked with a lot of people, is Mike Tannenbaum. And it was a couple of years ago, Mike joined me on the show, and he told the Darrelle Revis trade story that he worked it out with the Panthers ahead of the draft. He didn't tell him the player, but said, hey, if our guys there at that place, here's sort of the framework of the deal. It would be this for this, and they'd agree on the price, and the price wouldn't change on draft day and cause all kinds of craziness. So these 2 weeks before are like how you set up the frameworks of deals. So maybe that could be happening for the Jets moving up, moving down, or setting some of that. Because on my draft day movie, I love Kevin Costner in that movie. They're doing a little bit of that framework for setting up for potential trades as well. So could we start to see some of that activity and rumors and things of that nature coming through?
Yeah, 100%. I think that does start to happen now leading up. And that's kind of how, word gets out on who certain teams are potentially targeting. This is kind of when that information, probably a week from now, we'll start to hear more in that regards, but no doubt. And I think if you're the Jets, because you have that extra first round pick, you're going to be very locked into what the teams in front of you are doing. And if, hey, a certain player starts to fall and you have these extra picks, you're going to potentially consider moving up. So I think, to your point, that's when these conversations do get underway, Paul.
All right, one last little nugget. I heard Daniel Jeremiah say this on ESPN's Mina Kimes show that's on our YouTube channel. He told her that he believes the Carnell Tate conversation starts at 2. And I'm like, whoa, really? And he was more emphatic to say, if Carnell Tate ran a little bit faster and he had a little more weight on him, it'd be more emphatic that he's number 2. But he believes that he's going to be in the conversation. Daniel Jeremiah is one of the best in the business. How much stock do you put into what he said? Is that something interesting for 2? Is it more so, to your point, you could trade up from 16? If Carnell Tate starts to slip and slide within a certain range, that's where you could potentially attack. What do you make of the Carnell Tate rumor?
Yeah, look, I don't think he's an option at 2. I don't hate the idea of taking Tate at 2, just full disclosure. I don't think the Jets are going to do it. One thing Jeremiah said, though, if Carnell Tate was, a little taller and he ran this, then he'd be in, but he didn't. It's like if my aunt had a she'd be my uncle. Like we can't, like if Ty Simpson had 15 more career starts, he'd be the second pick to the Jets in this draft. You know what I mean? Like we can't play that game. So at the end of the day, I like Carnell Tate a lot. If he starts to slide, he's a guy I would love to see the Jets be aggressive and come up and get, but I don't think he's going to go at number 2.
Do you think there's any way he slides to the second wide receiver pick? In other words, do you think definitively he's going to be the first wide receiver taken off the board?
I'd lean yes because of the injury concerns with Jordan Tyson. I think, but hey, Tyson's going to do like a workout for teams about 6 days before this draft, so probably whenever that is, later this week. I guess it couldn't even be today. I don't even know, or next week, I should say.
Next week. Yeah.
If he looks explosive, he looks healthy, and all it takes is one team to say, "Yeah, we know there's injury risk, but like this guy could be a superstar," and if that's the feeling, maybe he'd go before Tate. But just based on his injury history, I think Tate is the first receiver off the board, and then after that. It could be Tyson. It could be Lemon. Maybe it's Omar Cooper Jr. to the Rams. There's some sneaky buzz about that, but I do think Tate will be the first receiver gone.
Who's your favorite receiver in this draft?
I like Mekhi Lemon. I know he may be just more of a slot guy, but I think he's awesome. Like, I just love the way he plays. His catch radius, I think, is unbelievable. I would have no problem if he's there at 16 and the Jets took him.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength, Jake. I was just talking about that this morning. There's something I like about Lemon, just watching him play, seeing on film. I like the explosive nature. I love explosive wide receivers. He's kind of that type of guy. So we're on the same page. All right. Well, we still got another one of these sessions before we get to the draft, Jake, but it'll be here before we know it. But we all want it to be today, tomorrow. How about in the next hour we just get this thing going and forget about all this waiting? But nonetheless, we shall wait, and it is coming, 15 days from today. Jake Asman, as always, my friend, thanks so much for coming on with us. We'll talk to you again next week.
Looking forward to it, guys. Thanks for having me.